It was soon after I started skating that I realized this is going to be something I'm going to have to fight against. Since I started learning to roller skate at 24, I'm 27 now, I've received a lot of comments both online and in person regarding my age and my skate practice. Comments like I'm too old to be skating, my knees are going to give out in 2 years, or even that I'm a creep for going to the skate park because skating is a kid's hobby. I didn't expect to be getting these comments anytime soon, more or less in my mid-20s. And if you're saying that someone in their mid-20s is too old to learn to skate, you are in for a limiting life for yourself. If we're lucky, we'll get a lot more than 20 years on this planet. And what are we supposed to do the other 30, 40, 50, 60 years? Just work and sleep until we either retire or die? I'll take a pass. Thanks. Hi, my name is Maddie, and I make videos to spread the stoke of skating. Thanks for hanging out with me, and let's get into it. As you probably could have guessed, my answer is no, you're never too old to learn how to skate. And I'm gonna prove it to you. There is a lot of stigma in our society surrounding aging, which is definitely perpetuated by the mass media and pop culture obsessing over the glory of youth. We're conditioned to fear aging, as we're shown when we age, we become more incapacitated, incapable, and irrelevant. But I reject the idea that just because we reach some arbitrary age means we're automatically barred from certain activities, like learning how to skate. I would argue that adulthood is one of the best times to learn new things like skating, because it provides an outlet from increasing everyday stressors like home life, finances, and work. I don't know about you, but I've gotten to a place in my adult life multiple times where I am so burnt out and unfulfilled because I'm pouring everything that I have into my responsibilities, but I'm taking no time for myself to recharge my soul and fill my cup, if you know what I mean. Adults need leisure time to explore their interests, engage in their passions, and I'm not sure why this is seen as childish or a waste of time by some. It's when we neglect our own happiness and stop investing in ourselves that we truly start to wither away and lose that zest for life. There's also evidence to suggest that learning new things throughout your life might be the key to the fountain of youth. In 2019, a study was published in the journals of gerontology that studied how learning new skills impacts the cognitive abilities of older adults. Their participants, ages 58 to 86, were split into two groups, a control group and an experimental group, with the experimental group taking about 15 hours of classes per week for 3 months. These classes focused on topics they were interested in, like Spanish, how to use an iPad, or music composition. They also attended an hour-long class once a week where they had open discussions about the barriers in learning, the value of learning new skills, and resilience in aging. The control group, however, did not take any classes or actively learn any new skills during this time period. They were still active members of their communities during this time and going on with their everyday lives. They just weren't participating in the experiment in order to have a baseline to compare the results to. All the participants were tested before and after the experiment, measuring their cognitive control, like the ability to switch back and forth between tasks, and their short-term memory, like the ability to remember phone numbers for more than a few minutes. And the findings are kind of shocking. The group that were learning new skills showed a dramatic improvement in their cognitive ability, displaying a level consistent with adults 30 years or younger than their age, compared to the control group who did not show any increase in their cognitive abilities at all. So whoever said old dogs can't learn new tricks was talking out of their It seems the evidence points to the contrary, that learning new things is healthy and beneficial for aging brains. Now I know what you might be thinking, this is all well and good, but this only addresses the cognitive effects of learning, and skating is a very physical activity. Don't be fooled into thinking physical activity and cognitive abilities aren't related, because according to a study published in the neurology journals, that might not be true. They followed a group of almost 900 people over the age of 70 for 5 years, measuring their relationship between cognitive ability and physical activity. It was found that those who engaged in moderate to intense physical activity showed less of a cognitive decline over time than those who only engaged in light to no physical activity at all. So yes, exercise is good for the brain and beneficial in keeping an aging mind sharp. But physical exercise is great for the body as well. So good. So good for the body. A study shared in the National Library of Medicine shows that exercise, anywhere from low-intensity walking to more vigorous sports and resistance training, is safe and healthy for older adults. It also showed this exercise decreased the risk of other ailments like cardiovascular disease, muscle weakness, and osteoporosis. So physical activities, like skating, can be advantageous for maintaining health through the aging process. And that process affects the skate journey. There is no denying that. The learning process of a 13-year-old is not going to look the same as someone in their 30s, 50s, or 70s, and that's okay. It can feel harder to learn things as we get older, and Professor of Psychology at University of California, Wendy Wu, like Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior from Disney Channel? Wow, that just came out from deep inside the subconscious, man. So it can feel harder to learn things as we get older, and there's a lot of reasons for this, but Professor of Psychology at University of California, Rachel Wu, has some theories as to why this might be. In an interview with the American Psychological Association, she explains that it might not be due to cognitive decline that it feels harder to learn as we age, but other factors instead. Okay, I'm done with this for now. We'll come back to it in a little bit. One of these factors, Wu says, is that it's difficult for adults to learn new things on top of all of the other responsibilities they already have, like paying bills or caring for children. And a lot of times when adults try to learn something new, they set unrealistic goals for themselves, setting themselves up to not meet those goals and then making themselves feel like a failure when they don't. For example, an adult learning how to skate might get on wheels and think that in a month they're going to be at the skill level of all the skaters they see on social media. So when they don't progress as quickly as they expected, they think, I'm bad at skating, I'm gonna stop. Bitch, of course you're bad at skating. You just started and you're comparing yourself to the curated highlights of online skaters who have been skating for God knows how long. Wu goes on to explain that adults tend to be less forgiving in their mistakes in learning than children, making the inner critic more of a barrier for adults than kids. She points out that we give babies a whole year to learn their first word, but most adults can't give themselves 10 minutes to learn a word in another language. We don't expect babies to go from crawling to sprinting full speed in an instant. In fact, I think that would be the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. When babies learn to walk, we extend so much grace to their falls and failures because it's all part of the process. When did failing being part of the learning process become failing means I can't do it? A lot of adults have been conditioned into a fear-based relationship with failure, including myself, and skating confronts this head on. In skating, you fail a lot. And by fail, I mean you fall, or you don't land the trick, and this is an inherent part of skating that can scare a lot of people away, especially if you're a wee bit of a perfectionist like me. We're taught that failure, in a lot of aspects of life, is a bad thing, a shameful thing, even. We strive to keep from failing tests, or failing relationships, failing careers, and that creates a fear-based relationship with failure. Growing up, I always had this type of fear-based relationship with failure. It wasn't until I started skating that my relationship with failure shifted into something healthier and more positive. Learning to skate taught me there's a different way to view failure, aside from something to be avoided, as something to be embraced and cherished as part of the learning process. It's just like the Thomas Edison quote, which I've heard quoted a million ways, but my favorite way is this. When asked how it felt to fail 1,000 times when inventing the light bulb, Edison responded, I didn't fail. The light bulb was an invention 1,000 steps in the making. And I love this because your skate journey is just that. It's 1,000 steps in the making, and some of those steps will be falling and failing. Falling during your skate sessions is an important and normal part of the learning process that everyone participates in. Every skater on social media, at the rink, at the park, has started as a beginner and has fallen and will continue to fall through the rest of their skate journey. So if you're feeling embarrassed to fall, know you're in good company because we all feel that way in the beginning, and I promise it will lessen with time and as you develop your relationship with failure. So when you don't master a skill as quickly as you thought, or you take a fall, I want you to reframe it from this was a failure to this was a step in the learning process, meaning you're a step closer than you were before. As your relationship with failure evolves, so will the attitude that you have towards it. It's the same with the relationship between aging and skating. As we age and evolve, our skate journey does so with us. I'm fully aware that my body won't be as resilient to falling this aggressively forever. But does that mean when I can't take hard falls anymore that my skate journey is automatically over? No, you silly goose, of course not. My skate life and skate style will continue to grow and evolve alongside me, accommodating and changing to my needs and abilities over time. I've seen this relationship shift with many skaters that I know. A lot of older skaters adopt less of a showy tricks approach to skating and more of a creative, flowy, expressive approach to skating. They focus more on incorporating their own creativity and soul into the craft than landing insane tricks. Skating can be as intense or as mellow as you want it to be, and it's customizable to what you're comfortable with. It can be throwing flips in a bowl at the skate park. It can be skating down the street in your neighborhood, or it could be practicing a few things while holding on to the wall in your garage. Each skater has different goals and different learning styles, and that impacts what skating will look like for you. Skating isn't a one-size-fits-all sport, which is what's so magical about it. The experience can be completely what you want it to be. With that said, it's our responsibility as adult skaters to make sure that our bodies are well cared for, so that we can skate for as long as possible. So let's go over some tips for doing just that. A few of these are going to seem like general health advice that you kind of hear everywhere, but they're mentioned so much because they're true. P.S. I am not a doctor or anything, so take what you want from this video and don't sue me. Our bodies are organic machines that require maintenance to function at their best. So make sure to fuel your body with foods that will power you through your session, and fuel them with foods that will help you recover afterwards. Drink lots of water, of course. I could be feeling like death, and it turns out I wasn't dying, I just needed some water. Invest in good sleep, my friends. Your body needs time to heal and recover from your skate sessions, and it does that best while you're sleeping. So try to prioritize quality sleep if you can, and give your body the rest that really needs. The next big thing is don't skip warming up and stretching. I know you're just so excited to get on your wheels and get skating, but I promise you, taking 15 minutes to warm up now could save you months of healing from an injury in the long run. So prevent injury by taking time to warm up your muscles, tendons, and ligaments before you get deeper into your skate session. There's kind of some controversy as to what type of stretching should be used before versus after physical activity, so I'm gonna fill you in on that, and you can come to your own conclusions and do what works best for you and your body. There are two main types of stretching that are beneficial to include in your skating practice: dynamic stretching and static stretching. There might be more, but these are the main ones. Dynamic stretching involves active movements to engage the body. So these are things like leg swings, ankle rolls, or lunges. Static stretches are just that, static. Still stretches being held for a period of time. So these are things like touching your toes, figure four, or quad stretch. The controversy lies in when to do each of these. So a lot of experts suggest doing your dynamic stretching before your exercise and doing a combination of dynamic and static after your exercise. But everybody's bodies are different, and some people feel better doing static stretching first. Once you do your off-skate stretching, it's time to do a warm-up on skates. And by that, I mean easing into your skate session by starting off with skills that you're already comfortable with and feel confident in. So if you're at the skate park, that could mean pumping on the ramp. If you're in your neighborhood, that could mean doing some strides down the street. It could even mean just standing and practicing, shifting your weight back and forth from one skate to another. Then after you finish these things, you can get into the rest of your skate session. And let me tell you, your skate session will be so much better if you protect that body of yours. Prevent injuries and improve your focus by wearing the amount of gear that you feel comfortable with. Although it's completely personal preference, for beginners, I would recommend full gear. So knee pads, elbow pads, wrist guards, maybe even crash shorts. I still wear those. And a helmet. Despite what you might be thinking, it is not embarrassing to wear protective gear. Not getting a TBI is hot. What can I say? You don't have to start out with the nicest gear. Most people don't. I started out with a brand I got from Walmart, and once I realized how much I loved skating, after a while I saved up to get some nicer pads. But no matter what, something is better than nothing to protect your body. And you can always upgrade over time if skating is something that you really like. I'll list some brands that I recommend with price ranges here on the screen, so you can pause the video and take a look at those whenever you want to. So the pads are one way to protect yourself from the falls, but there's another really important one that I want to talk about, and that is learning how to fall safely. I do want to say really quick that falling in skating, especially as we age, can be really scary. That fear can be hard to overcome, and it makes sense why. Your brain's main job is survival and to keep you alive. So you're fighting against literally the strongest primal instincts in your body telling you not to do something because it's trying to keep you safe. Especially in the beginning, this fear instinct is really strong. One of the best ways to mitigate that fear and prevent injury is to practice falling in ways that are the least harmful to your body. This gives your brain something to work off of when you actually fall, because you've already rehearsed it and started to build that muscle memory. And let me tell you, it will become muscle memory after a while. Your body is incredible at adapting and remembering movement, so give yourself time to develop those skills, because falling truly is a skill in itself. Practicing your falls can also help increase your confidence when you're skating, because you know that you're prepared to fall. I'll be making another more in-depth video about falling safely in the near future, but until then, I'll give you a few tidbits to get you started. First of all, when you start to feel unstable, bend down into a lower squat position. I like to say, when you feel like, whoa, get low. This will automatically make you more stable, as your center of gravity is lower to the ground and easier to control. Plus, falling from a foot or two off the ground is much less dangerous and painful than falling from 5 or 6 feet, or however tall you are. It's not a bend at the hips though. You really squat into that position, lowering your butt almost like you're gonna take a poop. And I know that sounds gross, but sometimes that helps the position click for people. Speaking of positions, let's talk about a few safer bailing and falling positions that you can practice. This position, that I so lovingly have named the turtle, involves directing your weight onto your knee pads and wrist guards, allowing them to slide across the ground instead of your skin. For those whose kneecaps just popped off watching that, I have another option for you to try. This position, that I call the proposal, is done by getting down onto one knee instead, and can be great for regaining control when you start to lose it. The last position I'll mention is called pick a cheek. Get low, drop the butt, pick a side, and direct your fall onto that side of the butt cheek. If you don't pick a side, you'll land directly on your tailbone, and that is not a good time. It will hurt to sit to do anything, and I mean anything, for weeks. Another great way to skate safer as an adult is to break down skills into baby, manageable steps. We're looking for a sustainable skate journey here, not a speedy one. So it's important to take on bite-sized pieces of the skills you want to learn and really master the fundamentals before moving on to the more complicated skills. Trying to skip ahead too quickly will deny your mind and body the time they need to truly prepare for that next step, opening yourself up to injury. It's not about learning things as quickly as you possibly can or about being the best. It's about having a skate practice that is fulfilling and empowering for you. And imagine how empowering it'll be a year from now if you started skating today. The time will pass anyway, and in a year from now, you could be a year into your skate journey, or you could be still wishing you had started. And if you want to start, I highly suggest you do so, despite the fear, self-doubt, or judgment that might be creeping in. Give yourself the chance to try something new, fail at it, try again, and have fun along the way. And don't let your age deter you from skating if you're in the health to do so, because it's never too late to learn how to skate. If you liked this video, you might find my video on skate parks and the downfall of third places interesting. Don't know what that means? Check out the video and I'll break it down for you. I'll see you in next week's video, and thanks for watching. Bye!